Welcome to Build Better Teams, the podcast for leaders who want to improve collaboration, strengthen communication, and create real alignment inside their teams. Here we explore team building strategies, leadership development, and hands-on approaches like Lego Serious Play that help teams think, build, and solve problems together. Let's get started so you can lead more effective, aligned, and engaged organizations. Hey there, welcome back to the Build Better Teams podcast. I am your host, Shannon Russell. On today's episode, I have a special guest in Risa Seelenfreund. She is a leadership development coach and the founder of Lightspark Leadership. We dive into what it takes to be the best leader possible, how to really grow an engaged team, and how to really make your team strong and successful. Risa offered such great advice. Let's dive into the conversation now. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Risa, to the show. I'm so excited for our conversation. We have lots to talk about, but first, I want you to just tell me about yourself and tell me about your business.
My background is in learning and development and leadership development. My business is Lightspark Leadership. I like to say I develop impactful, empathetic, and confident leaders through coaching and training. I work primarily with smaller businesses and nonprofits. So these are organizations that barely have the resources for an internal HR person, and they really don't have resources for an internal development person. And yet it is so critical for these small businesses, for these nonprofits that cannot afford to have even one leader underperform. So I come in, I meet them where they are, and help to develop specifically according to their needs.
That sounds so needed because, yes, I know some of those organizations really don't have the budgets to really hire. So having you as a resource just must help so much.
Learning how to communicate, have better time management skills, how to work with people different from yourself. And that's really, really what I love to do. And it's been several years, over 10 years, and I haven't looked back.
I want to unpack some of that, and you would know better than me, but I don't think a whole lot of organizations put enough emphasis on soft skills in teaching their leaders. What is your experience on that aspect?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of times they focus on, well, you need outcomes. Focus on the outcomes. Well, the way to reach those outcomes is by developing not only the hard technical skills, so you know how to do it, but it's how to go about doing it. Those are the soft skills. How to be empathetic, how to manage your time, how to listen to other people. And you can't get the outcomes without those soft skills as well. The old leadership model of command and control does not work. Organizations expect so much of us. And if you want your team to go above and beyond, you as a leader need to go above and beyond as well. And the way to do that is through developing your soft skills so that you can be more motivational and you can get more out of your team.
And especially just to talk about the younger generation now, they are a force to be reckoned with in the sense that they know what they want and what they don't want. And I'm hearing time and time again from leaders that they really won't put up with the command and control. You need to be able to relate to them and to give them that empathy and to just give them that flexibility, or else they're going to walk.
Yes, yes. So there are a couple things that I picked up on what you just said. One is the younger generation, absolutely. And I was recently coaching somebody of an older generation, and we were talking about empathy. And he said to me, why do I have to be nice to them? They're paid to work here. And yeah, I see.
Very different sensibility from, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I said, well, do you want them to do the minimum? And he said, no, I need them to do more, go above and beyond. And I said, if you want them to go above and beyond, you need to go above and beyond as their leader. And by just setting hard and fast expectations and not being empathetic, being kind, listening to their perspective, you are not going to get what you want out of them. Yeah. And a huge piece of that is the word you used, empathy. Yeah. And I will say more than any other topic that I've coached my clients on this year, it's on empathy. It's sort of a newer concept in putting the word to it is fairly, newer in the business world and is so critical.
It's just those little please and thank yous, or how was your day, or getting to know your employees beyond the role. I just recently did a podcast episode on asking certain questions of your employees so that you can learn about them and maybe learn about their past or what they do outside of this role. So you can learn about how you can take some of that experience and utilize it at work. Get to know who they are
Yes.
outside, right?
Yeah, yeah. Relationship building
Yeah.
is so critical. If you want them to trust you, if you want them to do more for you, if you want them to follow what
Mhm.
you are asking of them to do, you want them to follow the team and get excited, you need to know who they are as a person and care about them as a person, not just as a cog in a wheel.
Mhm.
And empathy is more than just being nice, it's putting yourself in their shoes. And that's not always easy, but it's taking those steps to say, "Ooh, they're going through some tough things right now. How would I feel if that were me?" And it gives you some extra feeling for what they're going through. And if you can do that, they are much more likely to want to give of themselves and do more and be motivated because you are caring about them as a person and thinking about what they are going through.
Oh, yeah. You have me thinking back to different aspects of my different careers and just always remembering what it was like to be that young one in the office or that assistant. And even when I worked in television, being a production assistant, you're doing all the grunt work. But when I became the producer, I remembered what it was like. And just thinking about that and having that little bit of empathy towards the assistants that worked
Mhm.
with me went a long way in forming those relationships.
Yeah.
Remembering what it was like when you were starting out. It's not that hard to do, but not everyone does that.
Yeah. And if someone is going through something challenging in their personal life, you
Yeah.
can still hold them accountable, but you can also be empathetic. And
Yes.
you can talk to them about it, and you maybe be a little bit flexible, not, you know, cut out all the rules, but if you can be flexible, when they can come back and really give of themselves when this situation is over, they are more likely to give,
Mhm.
more likely to be motivated because you supported them in their time of need.
Yes, it goes a long way.
It's not just anecdotal. There's a lot of data behind the value of empathy. And before you mentioned younger generations,
Yeah.
there's a lot of data showing that they are looking for empathy in the workplace. And if
Mm.
you don't demonstrate it, what's going to happen? They're either going to quit or quiet quit.
Yeah.
They'll show up and just do the minimum. We know the data is showing that this is what they are looking for. So if you can demonstrate it, you will get more out of them.
And then you're really forming that team and not having to rehire and re-assimilate everyone together time and time again. No one wants that turnaround in their team.
No,
You just
no.
want,
And people will leave,
oh yeah.
especially younger generations. They will leave if they're not getting the empathy, if they're not getting the support of their manager.
Yeah.
So much data behind it. And it costs so much time and money
Yeah.
to rehire. You don't want to have to do it.
No. And I feel like our generation, we just sucked it up and we just kept going. But yeah, these younger employees are not. I don't know if it's that they value themselves more or they just know that there's other things out there. Just the way of the world now and the way of work. It's like, okay, well, if I'm not going to get what I need here, I'm going to go create
Yeah.
something of my own, or I'm going to, there's more options for them maybe than
Yeah.
I feel like we
Yeah.
had.
And the other thing is that if you are a manager managing younger generations, you're a role model for them, right? They are becoming managers. And if you want them to be effective managers and their employees not to leave, then you're being a role model as to how to be empathetic. Will teach them to be that way for their employees, and then their employees are less likely to quit or quiet quit. So it benefits you and them in the short term, but your being empathetic helps the organization in the long term as well because you are the role model and teaching them to do the same thing so their employees are more likely to stay.
Let's take it back to when you first started working with teens. What was it about it that you said, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be and how I can use all of my skills to my and my organization's benefit?
Well, I started realizing when the light bulb goes on in someone's head, I can kind of physically see it,
Mhm.
especially when it's something they've been struggling with, a concept they were having trouble understanding, or a behavior they were having trouble changing. And I could see that light bulb go on and like finally getting it. That to me was so fulfilling that I played a role in them being able to get something new to further their career or make them more satisfied or more effective in their current role. That is what really got me excited and continues to. That's what I am passionate about is seeing that light bulb go on when someone has been struggling. That's
Mhm.
what drives me every day. Whether I'm working with a leader who's having trouble changing a behavior or, a newer employee who's having trouble getting a concept. That is something that's nice about working in an organization is you get to see how people proceed and you know that you've played a role in it. It's a little different as a consultant where I do my work and I move on and I may not
Yes.
see the long-term impact, so I do kind of miss that, but I do get to impact more people, more organizations that way. But there is something very satisfying in seeing people succeed and grow and know that I've played a role in that.
How has your past experience overall in your career really shaped how you look at a leadership team?
I've been lucky enough to have a well-rounded look at leadership. I've been a leader myself. I teach others how to lead, and academically, I've taken classes and learned as well. So I have multiple perspectives to draw from, which I think gives me a pretty, like I said, a well-rounded look at it, which really helps me to be able to help the people that I work with.
What are the differences that you've seen between successful leadership teams and ones that might be struggling?
I would say number 1 is every leader needs to understand themselves first. Self-awareness is critical for every leader. If you can't look deep down inside and know what your strengths are and where you could use development, you cannot develop others. You need to understand where you come from first. So that separates a really successful leader from those less so who aren't willing or able to look inside. Listen, it comes more easily to some people, the self-awareness comes more easily to some than for others. Use an assessment, work with a coach, whatever it is, help to understand where you don't have strengths, and that's okay. None of us are strong in everything. Be willing to work on it. Hire people who have strengths that you do not. Some leaders want to hire people just like them, and that is not going to help you or the team. You need to know what your strengths are, what your areas for development are, work on those, hire people who are strong in those areas that you're not. And that will help you to have a more effective team. That's just one place to start, but that is like
Yeah.
the very beginning. Very fundamentally, you need to understand yourself.
Mm. And that's a piece too that I think a lot of people don't take the time. People in general don't want to know feedback from others. They don't want to know what they could potentially do better. But
Yeah.
when you can really want to be open to learn that, that just benefits everyone.
It's funny, I just finished coaching someone this week, and we spent some time on building his awareness, and he was someone where it just didn't come naturally to look, deep inside. We did an assessment. We talked about it. I could see these light bulbs going off like he wasn't aware. He wasn't
Mhm.
aware what he was good at, what he wasn't as good at, what his preferences were. And he's now looking and saying, okay, I know this is where I'm not as strong. How can I develop that? And it will never be a strength. That's
Right.
fine. But he's looking at where do I need to do a bit better? Where do I need to raise my level so that I can help others? And it was so enlightening for him. And he's like, I now know. I didn't know before. And just that awareness is so critical.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what tends to happen when an employee gets promoted to manager and then they realize that they don't really know what that means. They may not have the skills. What have you maybe coached others on to help them in that new position?
That is such a great question.
Mm.
This happens all the time. People get promoted because they're good in their field. But just because you're good in your field does not mean you know how to lead. It is a completely different skill set, and it's actually quite unfair to that person to be promoted into a leadership position without being given leadership support. This is something that I feel very passionate about
Mhm.
because just because you're a good accountant, marketer, operations person does not mean you know how to lead others. And it is unfair to expect them to do it without having the support. So, what they need is self awareness,
Yes.
understand what their strengths and needs are as a leader, understand what it means to be a good leader, and be given that support. I would say the two things that new leaders tend to struggle with. There are more, but we'll start with 2. One is delegation. They typically have not had to delegate work before. They're assigned work, they do it themselves. Once you become a leader, the volume of work increases and you need to do higher level work. If you are not delegating, you will become overwhelmed and you will burn out. On top of that, you will have team members who will be saying, "Hello, I'm here. I want to do work as well. I want to learn and grow." And so leaders who don't delegate are putting themselves and their team in a really tough spot. And new leaders don't always know how to delegate. So it's helping them to understand what delegation is, how to do it. It's not indicating, it's not saying, "Okay, here's the work, you go do it." You
Oh,
need to continue supporting. And it's okay to pass off work. Some think, "Oh, well, it's not fair. I'm giving them work. I should do it." Well, no, you have other work to do as well.
right.
So helping them to understand the concept of delegation, how to do it, and why it's important, that is critical for new leaders and something they often don't know how to do. And then the other thing I will add is understanding the importance of empathy, which we already talked about. I'll share one other example. I used to coach someone, and she was a leader for the first time, very command and control. She
Mhm.
came from a family where it was very command and control. You did what your parents told you, you did what your grandparents told you, you didn't question it, not a lot of empathy, and so that was what she knew. Plus, she worked for managers who were also very command and control. It didn't even
Mhm.
occur to her to be empathetic. So she needed to understand what it was, how to demonstrate it, and why it was important. And between knowing how to delegate and then how to be empathetic, like, she was able to blossom as a leader.
And I love that you said too, the delegate and support. So you're not just pushing off the work and walking away, you're supporting and you're doing those check-ins. That's just beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, it's a real fallacy that delegation is just giving someone work and you stepping away. No, no, you still need to be part of the process. You need to support, you need to answer questions,
Yes.
etc.
Yes. For leaders listening who want a stronger team, where would you suggest that they start? We've talked about so many great areas and tools, but what would be your first piece of advice to someone who's like, I have a team, I want them to be stronger, maybe more cohesive? How can I get that started?
One of the things I really love to do are team assessments. And what that means is that the manager and every member of the team individually take an assessment. I personally like to use the DISC assessment. There are many others. That's my preference. And everyone takes it independently, and then we come together. You need a facilitator to help have the conversation. And we talk about different styles of behavior, different approaches, different preferences. And you learn to understand what everyone's preference is on the team. You have to be willing to share. And I say that up front is we're going to share what everyone's style is. That way you understand where people are coming from. And it helps you to say, "Oh, that's why they do it that way." Yeah, it's a little irritating to me, but they're not doing it to be rude or mean. That's their preference. That's
Yeah.
how they naturally are. and I come at it differently. And you have a conversation about what everyone brings to the table. You have a conversation about what the team overall looks like. So if we have a lot of people who are one style and one person who's a different style, they may feel a little left out. And
Mm.
so the rest of the team needs to say, they bring something to the table that we don't. We need to leverage them instead of making them feel different from the rest of us. Let's leverage that diversity that we all bring to the table to help our team be better. So that is something that I recommend all the time. Understand where everyone is coming from and what they bring to the table. And by the way, we all have strengths, but we all have opportunities as well. And leverage those opportunities that other people are good at that you're not. And what that does is it helps you to understand what everyone's bringing to the table. It
Right.
also opens up the conversation, which is
Mhm.
what you want. You want to start building relationships among the team. And by opening up, you're able to start communicating more with one another. You have language to talk about what people are bringing to the table. So I am a huge fan of assessments, especially when it's a new team or a new manager. You have several new people starting on a team. It's a great way to get started.
I agree so much. And they're so fun too. And then you can say, I now have a new way to relate to so and so because we're alike in this way. So there's so many ways to really connect. That is great, great advice. What does building a better team look like for you?
It looks like a leader being willing to step back and see their team thrive.
Mm.
Some leaders like to have control. Some don't want the people who work for them to grow too much, learn too much because they fear for their own position. And to a degree, it kind of makes sense in today's world where people do get let go, and middle management can be at risk. But as you help your team to grow, it helps you to grow as well. So a well-functioning team is when the manager wants their team to thrive and learn and grow and develop. It makes them look good. It helps them to be able to move up in the organization. You just have to be willing to step back and help others to thrive.
Great, great advice. So, Risa, where can everyone connect with you? Where are all the places to follow you and learn more?
My firm is Lightspark Leadership. You can check out my website, lightsparkleadership.com. You can reach me, Risa at lightsparkleadership.com. I am all over LinkedIn because my business is all B2B. That's really where I share my advice, my wisdom, information about where I'm speaking and such.
This was such a lovely conversation. You've shared so much, and your background, the business you built, everything is so inspiring. So, thank you.